out there tuning in YouTube land. No one's in here yet, so this is for those of you, I guess, tuning into this after the fact. All right, now we got a couple people in here rolling in. Back with you guys, do another live stream, little bit of practice. I got my guest star back here in the background. Little Oreo. Don't you be nasty with me, little kitty. Okay, so we're going to be playing a little bit of banjo today, doing a little practice. Planning on doing some recording later tonight. Recording another song, probably have it published the next day or two. Next lesson. I think I'm going to do Sally Gooden. Not quite sure yet. I think I'm going to do that because that's a good old classic one. Get back to a Scruggs number. And this banjo is so shiny, my camera doesn't know how to react. I'm going to move the light back a little bit so it's not quite so intense. Let's see if that helps a little bit with the camera sort of flickering. Oh, man, we're up to 12 people in there. Scuba says, hello. Hello, Governor. Hello, Governor. We got a Ellisary 2001. Hey, Mr. Morwell. Hey there. Hey. Yeah, I think that's a little better. We're getting a little less camera flicker now. All right. So. This will be a little more of maybe a little shorter live stream, not 3 and 4 hours long like the last one. Banjo for Life says hello. So a song I've been working on, and it unintentionally sounds a little bit like Kenny Baker. Not Kenny Baker. There's Bill Hicks, the fiddle player. It unintentionally sounds a little bit like his banjo player's break, which I should maybe sit down and try and learn that break. I've been doing a little bit of work on playing piano chords or playing chords along a melody for Faded Love. And so I've been experimenting with, instead of using your typical G, C, D, that sort of stuff, like your bar Gs and all that, like that, using the more appropriate music theory-wise jazz stuff. So like you've got like your, in your G scale, you've got like a G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and that's your octave root. You just play those chords, right? So, which sounds pretty awful like that, but if you like catch the right minors, the minors at the right spot, so you've got your G, A minor, B minor, C, D, those are both majors, and E minor, then a diminished F minor, which works out to be pretty close to a D7. Or exactly to a D7, and you go back to a G. You got a few questions in here. I'm trying to learn, Scuba asked, trying to learn part of Foggy Mountain Breakdown with the 2 hammer downs. Could I do a little tutorial? Well, there's really not a whole lot to it. I assume you're talking about this part here where it goes. I mean, there's not much to it besides you're hitting the second string twice in a row. In that case, you're going. And like really the real technique is down here with the right hand. You're alternating between your index finger and the thumb. and that's just to kind of keep that fluid motion. We're actually turning that into an alternating roll by going index, thumb, middle. Or we're going index, middle, thumb, middle in that case. But yeah, there's just practice. I have a lot of people ask, like, tell us how to do this because I can't figure it out. And a lot of times, and the answer, unfortunately, sometimes is, bro, you already got it figured out. Just you got to practice it a lot, and that's something there's no substitute for, unfortunately. Get them strings warmed up, says Chris Davis. Dale Collingsworth asks, did you ever play four-leaf clover? No, I never did. I haven't heard that one. Thomas Craig says, I've been playing banjo for about 2 years, but I could use lessons. Do you offer live lessons or over Skype lessons? Actually, I do. Thomas. In the description of this video and every other video that I've done, recently, you'll find a link. It's a Calendly link, and you can go there and sign up for one-on-one lessons. I do them virtually. So they're 45 minutes. So you can sign up for those over there, and you get one-on-one lessons with me. So that is an option. Let's see. Banjo for Life asks, how long have you been playing for? 17 years. 17 years, which about 10 of those years I was not doing a whole lot of learning. I got to the point where, I'd learned Scruggs style to the point where I could play it like Scruggs and like verbatim Scruggs, and I kind of stopped learning, lost interest, didn't practice a whole lot, which I've kind of gotten an interest back in it in the past few years. So that's when all this banjo stuff started coming back. Okay. But Connor Everett Spangler says, hi, John. Do you know Carolina Traveler? I've been trying to find tutorial and tabs for that tune quite a bit now. I do not know that one. I've not heard it. There's all these little niche songs I have not heard, and I need to listen to more bluegrass. I listen to a lot of jazz, and besides the old standards, I've not been super into it for a while. Martin Kenny says, I can motor away with 2 fingers, not so good with 3. I mean, that's just, man, that's how it is. It's always a little bit difficult. A lot of people have trouble getting that middle finger involved because that ring finger tries to move with it. I don't plant my ring finger. I just plant my pinky, and my ring finger is just sort of hanging out. So you'll see me playing, my ring fingers moving with it. It looks like it's almost playing. That's how I play. As long as you have one finger planted, you're good. Let's see. Eric Dodd says, anytime I picked up a banjo thinking that I will feel comfortable with it being anytime I picked up a banjo thinking that I will feel comfortable with it being a guitar player. Oh, with it being a guitar player, commas are important. I put it down after 30 seconds. Banjo is one of those things that is really not too much different. I've got a guitar over here. Let me go grab one real quick. Now I don't have a pick to go with it, but I'll use banjo picks here. This is a guitar here, but we're in a G, D. The 4 bottom strings are G, D, or it's D, G, B, E. So as long as you can compensate for the E string being 2 frets higher, then it's really not much different than a banjo. Oh God, it's been forever. That's old Tony Rice break. I can't remember how it goes. Yeah, it's like a lot of it's the same, like little hot licks. something like that. Let me put this down because I'm not a guitar player. But let's see. It's yeah. I mean, if you like, I'll say this: playing an instrument. Once you learn one instrument, you're like 20. Once you learn one instrument, you're like 10% on your way already to learning your next instrument. Once you learn two instruments, like at least at like some basic level, you're like 20% on your way to learning your third. And so, like, I play banjo at a professional level. I can play guitar, rhythm guitar, and a little bit of lead guitar. I can hack at it a little bit and make it work at a jam. I can do mandolin chops and timing and all that and accompaniment. I can play bass accompaniment. And so, naturally, once you learn like mandolin, you understand the mandolin scales, you understand the bass scales, which those are all tuned on fifths. And then you've got the banjo and your guitar, then pretty much like you can learn any other instrument pretty quickly if it's a stringed instrument. That's how come I did my violin video, learning violin. A lot of people call it bullcrap because they're like, you improved way too quickly in a year. It's like, no, it's because I'd never played a violin before that or a fiddle before that. It's just, I mean, the scale's the same as the mandolin. I already knew the chords and the hand positions, even though I'd never played the fiddle before. It's like, you're tuned on fifths. It's a little bit different scale length. The technique's different. You're doing this instead of this right here. But it's, that's sort of it. Let's see. Brian Clapp says, "Hey, John, so pleased to be back in your live chat." Hey, Brian, pleased to have you. Martin Kenny says, "If I get divorced, will my ring finger work?" Oh goodness, that's a good one. You'll have a little better speed. It'll lighten it up a little bit. That's a pretty good one. That's a good one. Daryl Johnson asks, "How do you like the new Recording King?" I love it. I'm really starting to think it might be better than my Gibson. Which my Gibson it's got some issues with it. It's an older banjo and it needs some work done. I don't know what's wrong. It maybe needs a new bridge. It's kind of dead sounding, doesn't have much sustain. This thing really rings true. I mean, for all I know, it just needs a new set of strings. But because I change my strings like once a year, I'm one of those awful people. I mean, dead strings can't get any deader. So if you're okay playing with dead strings, save you $2, save you a couple bucks a year. Strings are pretty cheap for a banjo. I need to get in a better habit of changing them more often. Let's see. Eric Dodd says, "I think the high string and top perplex." Yeah, that can be a little bit confusing for people. It is a bit of the odd one out of the bunch. It is the odd one out of the bunch. When I first started out, I was like, why? Like, why is this where it is? It makes no sense. And I just came to stop questioning it and just accept it. And that's sort of, eventually it works out. Let's see. Thomas Craig says, "I played piano since childhood, fluent music theory. Banjo newbie, would love to learn guitar one day. Do I have guitar lessons in addition to banjo lessons?" I don't do guitar lessons. I'm not good enough at guitar. I'm not good enough at guitar to do it. Like I try to hold myself to a pretty high standard. And I had people offer to let me, like, music stores and stuff. They found out that I could play a little bit of fiddle. They're like, "You want to teach fiddle?" No, I'm not going to teach fiddle. I'm still a beginner. I'm not going to teach fiddle, And same thing with guitar. I'm like a beginner, maybe intermediate at best. But yeah, so I can't really teach it. Eric, you're not just lame. You're not just lame. I'm just saying that there are certain rules of music, at least in Western music, and once you learn those, everything else just sort of falls into place. And so a lot of the learning a lot of the learning when you're learning an instrument is foundational stuff that is just universal for all instruments, like learning to keep a beat. If you can do that on a banjo, you can do this, which is vamping. Well, now you have like the understanding of the timing. You can go over to a guitar and strum it. Or you can go over to a mandolin and chop it, I mean, that's, that it's like there are certain things that just, the scale on a banjo, a G scale on a banjo is the same as a mandolin, a fiddle, a bass, a guitar. Just you're maybe in a different octave, but you sort of know what sound to look. I guess what I'm trying to say is you know what you're looking for. You kind of know what questions to ask. Whereas a beginner, you kind of don't know what to ask if you've never played an instrument before. And that's like the value of having lessons is like, you kind of, as a beginner, if you've never played an instrument before, you just don't know what's good and what's not. But versus if, like, I can't play a fiddle, but I can tell you what sounds good on a fiddle and what doesn't, because I've heard enough of it and I know enough about music. But let's see. Craig says, thanks anyway. By the way, your rendition of Clinch Mount Backstep is my favorite on YouTube. I listen to it at least a couple times a week. It has some serious drive. Well, thank you. I literally just was kind of pulling stuff out of a hat on that one. That was, just sort of making stuff up. That's a lot of music. You're making your instrument talk when you're playing. When you're playing an instrument, you're trying to make it talk. There's a certain sound, and you make the banjo talk to that sound. And there are different licks, canned licks that you can use, hot licks that you can use to get that sound. Do you have any suggestions where I can get some banjo strings? They are $30 where I'm looking at. eBay. Get on eBay. You'll find people that are selling like packs of 10. You buy them in bulk. And you can get them for like $4 or $5, a pair. $4 or $5 a set. At least last I checked. I haven't been on there. I typically buy like 20 sets at a time, and they last me about 5 years, or 6 years or whatever. So I don't. I'll put it like this. My last set I bought before this set, I bought a set about a year and a half ago. And the set that I bought before that, the last set, I bought 10 sets of strings, and they lasted me about 7 years because I just don't change strings. I'm the world's worst for it. So I was a little bit surprised when banjo strings were no longer $2.74, like they were when I ordered them from First Quality Music, 10 years ago or whatever. So, that is what it is. I guess inflation is a thing. Let's see. Brian Clapp says, when you first started out, John, how much practice did you do? How much practice realistically do you personally think it takes to get good and fast for playing live? Okay. So now growing up, we grew up pretty poor and we didn't have a whole lot to keep us entertained. So like TV was pretty limited. When we had a TV, it was hooked up to an antenna in the yard. And so we got 2 channels. One of them came in snowy and the other one came in if the weather was right. And so there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment. So we played music pretty much all the time. My brother and I did. And so for me, it was practice like 2-3 hours a day after school. I do my homework, and then it's just like you play banjo. And, and so that's not realistic for everyone to play banjo 2 to 3 hours a day. But at that pace, I was playing live shows within about a year and a half. So, I mean, if you're looking at from like an hour's perspective, if you can get, say, 30 minutes to an hour a day in, you're looking at maybe 2 years. You might start, playing live, and have some speed on you to where you can do that. So, and I think if you've got a really good approach, you might be able to do that in a year and a half. I didn't have any lessons starting out. I did not. I'm self-taught 100%. And aside from one lesson, like later on, I'd been playing about 2 or 3 years, and I decided like I would like to get a lesson just to make sure I'm not doing anything like drastically wrong that I'm just not aware of, because I don't know what I don't know. And, basically they told me like, hey, yeah, you're doing everything okay. And like, besides that, there really just you're looking at practice hours more than years played. The more time you put in, the better you're going to get, and the more time you put in practicing, the more you learn, the faster you will learn. I tell like I started working on this song and I played this in live streams before. This song, Big Sandy River, has been like the big one I've been working on recently. And there's this one lick that I really want to get down before I move on to the rest of the song. It goes like this, right? And so, and that's like this little tiny little lick. It's just like takes up like a second of the song. In the context, it goes like this. And that's it. And so I started learning that a week ago. And when I started learning that a week ago, I was practicing 30 minutes at a time to an hour at a time, just doing this. And messing up along the way. So it wasn't nearly that clean. But eventually I started playing a little faster. And then. And you get to that point where the muscle memory kicks in. There's that point where you're learning things consciously, and you're doing it right when you forget where you're at in the song and your hands do it anyway. And that's like when you're getting to that point, that tipping point where it's like all of a sudden speed is no longer an issue. When you're playing something and you're having to think about every little lick, it sucks, but you just keep pushing yourself. And eventually you'll get to the point where you push yourself to that point where you start missing licks and you start pulling back a little bit and you push yourself forward, and eventually, you're getting all the licks and you don't think about it. Like I'm not thinking about any of that. It's just you do it and it happens. But hours and hours and hours of practice, as much as you can is how much you should practice. If you want to get really good and play live and perform. If you want to just do sing-songy stuff, man. If you want to do sing-songy stuff, you're on the wrong channel. Because I don't teach people. I don't teach students sing-songy style. I teach them to play like they're really going to play to be successful and be a good musician, like a really good musician. That chair says trying to learn Flint Hill Special. Any tips for the detuned parts? Can't seem to get the right notes. Okay, so I don't have detuners on this banjo, so I can't give you an example on this. You need to get detuners, either Keith tuners or Schaller tuners. Schaller, I think is how they are spelled. But you can get on eBay and look up banjo detuners, and they're like $80 to $90 for a set for the Schallers, and they're fine. I've used them. I also have a set of the Keiths, and I like the Schallers honestly a little better. And they're cheaper too. So the Schallers are good, and you just get those and set them, and you use them. That being said, I've been looking at getting cheetah keys that actually bend the strings up here to do that. And the reason being, once you set them, you kind of can forget about them. Whereas with the Keith tuners, they're real finicky. Every time you tune the banjo, you have to reset them. So basically, they just never get set. I never play detuned songs live. They're only good for recording, really, when you have time to plan on it, because you're tuning all throughout a live show, and so you've got to set them up immediately before you play the song, or you're not going to be in tune. So, but yeah, detuners of some kind or another are what you need to do that. Our forward and backward rolls, I'm going to assume there's an and in there. Our forward and backward rolls used much in real tunes. That's my Martin Kenny. So the forward and backward rolls are used all the time in real tunes. Now, a forward roll is not just 1, 2, or 3, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3. A forward and backward roll is any combination that is basically you're descending in string order is what we're going off of. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is your string order. Anytime you're descending in string order, thumb, index, middle, that's a forward roll. really, that's really what I would call the definition of a forward roll is thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle. It can be 3-2-1. It can be 4-2-1, 5-2-1, 5-3-1. Any of those. It can be 5-4-1 if you're doing Stanley style stuff. If you're starting to get the melodic stuff, you'll start bringing that middle finger up on the second string or up on the second and third string. You might end up with a 5-3-2. It's thumb, index, middle. That's your forward roll, and it's used all the time. So if you're doing like Fireball Mill, this is all a forward roll. And then we go into like alternating rolls, where it's like alternating roll isn't just 3-2-5-1. It can be 3-2-4-1. It can be 3-2-3-1. It doesn't even have to be a different string. It's just thumb, index, thumb, middle. And that's your alternating roll. And it doesn't always have to be thumb, index, thumb, middle. It's one finger, another finger, same finger as the first, and then the next finger. So this, like dually, would be an alternating roll. It's middle, index, middle, thumb. Middle, index, middle, thumb. It's a 4-note pattern. And so that's an alternating roll. So Jack in Space says, hail from New Hampshire. Let's see. Hello from Virginia. Let's see. I am a beginner. Daryl asked, I'm a beginner and get bored with learning the scales and theory and end up just taking off using it with tabs and just start learning songs. Good, bad. Bro, Daryl, there is no purpose in learning music theory. And I think colleges ruin people who could be perfectly good musicians because they focus on the theory too much. Music is intuitive. The purpose of the theory is to allow you to communicate music. That is, for me, the only purpose of music theory. It gives you a way to think about music. It's a way to communicate, and part of communicating things is it helps you think things as well, right? It's like you don't know what you ever have someone ask you like, hey, how do you think about this? And you think you're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, do I actually think that, right? We learn things by expressing things, and music theory gives us a way to think about it because we have words to assign to those feelings. Music theory, if you don't know music, there's no point in learning any of that. So yeah, just learn songs. And I mean, that's what I did. I know a lot of people who are classically trained musicians, and they can tell you they can read the music and all that, and they're not very good musicians. So, you need to feel the music. Like before I learned music theory, I knew that like there was a this sound and there was a this sound. It goes I understood that there were like those three sounds in a chord because I heard it enough that it just made sense. You hear it and it sticks. And I understood that like, okay, like, this, if I'm in a G, like that's not really part of the chord, but it still works, right? And each one has a different sound. Like this one is like edgy. Everyone knows, like this is your G major. If I do this, it's kind of edgy, isn't it? If I catch this, it's a little bit mysterious sounding. If I take it and make it a minor with a major seventh, that's edgy with a, there's like all these different sounds that you sort of like, ooh, that's real mysterious with a little bit of edge to it. Something's going on, and there's all these different feelings that you get with music. A G naturally wants to go to a C, and there's a D. I didn't know that this was a 1 and this was a 4 and this was a 5. No one explained that to me, but you just know. You play long enough and you know what sounds good. eventually you play with enough people, you realize that maybe, maybe, throwing an E minor in there every now and then before your turnaround can sound pretty good. And like you pick up on all these things. Music theory is sort of like the light bulb moment. After you've done all this, it's like that light bulb moment where you're like, oh, this is why that works, and this is why that sounds that way. And maybe not necessarily always the why, but it's like, oh, this is like the system in which that works. And here's how I can take this cool thing and apply it somewhere else. And that's like really, that's what's so interesting about it. So if I'm going to do You Are My Sunshine, right? It's like, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. It goes. That's the melody line. I can do something scrugsy with that by understanding like basic music. Like understanding the melody. And I could do this before understanding music, right? Because you just know there are certain licks that have certain sounds. Like this, open. Sounds like this. This open. Or this. Sounds like this. This sounds like this. All right, so if you come up and you're doing like this, or this, like this, catches that sixth sound. But I didn't know that was a sixth, but I knew that's just like, oh, that's like a little accent note, which is kind of what it is, right? But like You Are My Sunshine, you can take it like if you have a little bit of music theory knowledge, you can actually use that to use chords that you otherwise wouldn't use. So like getting back to the whole, as I was talking about probably about 20 minutes ago, there's all these different chords that you can use out of, say, a G position, like using only root positions, but alternating between minors and majors. You can do catch the whole scale. So that's like a G, A minor, B minor. So C major, D major, E minor, diminished F sharp minor. And then we go back to our octave root. That's useful for composing. It's not so much useful for the beginner. It's really, I would say, not useful for a beginner at all to know that sort of stuff. But as you compose and you start improvising, that's where it starts to become valuable. So now instead of using like your typical G chords, like that on You Are My Sunshine, if I was going to chord out that lead, I can get a little more tension and edge into the music by using diminished chords and minor chords that play along the melody. So instead of doing this, it's very basic and it works, but you bring in a little more tension by doing something like this. Actually, I messed up there. And that lands us on a G major 7th. So something like that again. Let you hear that again. Here I am messing up on that, but yeah. And you hear how there's like it's a subtle difference. There's just like a little bit. It's not quite minor. It's just there's a little bit of tension. A little bit of tension in there. And because it's not the end of the song, so because there's another part to it. It's like, hey, we're back home. You make me happy when skies are gray. But there's still another part. We're not done yet. You never know, dear, how much I love you. And so by adding that, by dodging that root chord and going to like that diminished root or basically a major 7th, you sort of keep the tension and motion and momentum in the song. That's like once you get into composition. But yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Martin Kenny says he thinks it's important to know what chords go together. Yeah. So like G, C, and D. Those are like the basic ones. Then you got like an E minor. You got an F, and that's basically maybe an A. And if you can do that, then that's like half the battle right there. That's like a lot of the battle. If you can catch a G, C, D, and then learn an A, and then a F, and E minor, I mean that's basically all you're going to need to do to play like 99% of literally 99% of bluegrass. Because with those chords you can do like and maybe a B in there. Like Old Home Place has a B in. So if you're doing like well, it's just like G, C, B in that case. There's an A in there and there's a D, and that's the whole chords for the song. It's just in a certain order. So just like learn some chords, like learn the chords. G, C, and D to start out with for the beginner. Everything else will fall in line. As you learn songs, your chord vocabulary will expand. You don't need to know major sevenths. Just learn G, C, and D, and everything else will come. You know, your sevenths will come as you learn songs. Martin Kenny says your bridge is in the proper place, but when I play chords, the intonation is off on some of the chords. Okay, so there's a few things going on there. There can be a few things going on. As you go further up the neck, the intonation is going to get further off if it's not perfectly set. The best way to do that is to tune your banjo, say like your G. I like to do my bottom D and tune that, get that in tune on a tuner, and then check my 12th fret. And I can hear that I'm actually flat, so this bridge is off. It's probably scooted on me a little bit. Drop it down. So you guys are getting a real life example of this here. But yeah, you just like tune that. I like to tune to a harmonic. Harmonic's the most accurate way to do it. And that's got pretty well. Do it for a 4-string. And we're pretty well in tune there, so we're pretty well calibrated. But yeah, you tune it to your 12th fret harmonic. So this is a new head. The head hasn't quite settled in. This is a new banjo. The head hasn't quite settled into the bridge, so the bridge will move sometimes. But a little bit sharp there. And yeah, I mean, as you get to be more, like, as you develop your ear, you'll get to the point where you can kind of hear it and just calibrate it. There's one other reason why your intonation might be off, though. If you've got a really high action, like if your strings are really high off the frets, I mean, like you're just like bowing those things down to get your notes. You may be pulling it out of tune during that. That's how come you'll see some people with those moon-shaped bridges that are rounded like that. The third string is the one that's most affected by it. So if you find your first and fourth string are in tune, but your third string is not, that's probably what's going on. Okay, so let's see. KN Flying says, Iowa here. Not many in-person instructors available. Do you offer virtual lessons? If not, do you recommend anyone? I do offer virtual lessons. In the description of this video, if you go down and check that out, there's a Calendly link, and you can just go there and sign up. They're 45-minute lessons. They're $35, and you get one-on-one virtual lessons. I'll go through if you have questions on certain songs. Say there's tabs or something like that. If you currently have tabs, but you're having trouble figuring out hand positions, things like that, or what fingers to use where, I can go over that with you. General technique. Likewise, also I can tab stuff out for you, like some basic stuff. I can't tab out like a whole song that is like pages of music for a single lesson, but they're like reasonable limitations, but like if you're having trouble with a lick, or if there's a lick you want to learn, I can tab that out for you and whatnot and show you how to do that. So yeah, like I do offer virtual lessons. Just check in the description of this video or my other videos. Let's see. AJG690 Garcia says we're not getting any of those freaky ads again. Yeah, there was a bot on here the other day that was just spamming lewd, inappropriate websites and stuff, and I kept having to ban them. Let's see. Martin County says his is off near the nut. That could be the nut then. If the nut, make sure that the nut is sitting completely up against the fretboard. Make sure there's no gap in between the nut and the fretboard. And there's supposed to be just a little bit of a back cut in the nut so that the string lands cleanly off of that nut. It leaves and exits cleanly off of the nut and breaks clean. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. How would I do that? I could do a seventh there, major seventh. So like let's see. AJGG690 Garcia says, do you know how to play Girl, I Love You, Pay Me No Mind? No, I don't know that one. I'm not familiar with that one. That's a new one on me. Well, on and on I'll follow my darling, and I'll wonder where she can be. On and on I'll follow my darling, and I'll wonder if she ever thinks of me. So that's On and On. That's one of those songs that, and this is the beauty of learning the language of music, right? And this is not about music theory. This is language. You make your instrument talk. I know the melody of it, and so I just play a break, just whatever break feels appropriate over it. So it's improv. You just know that it goes, On and on I'll follow my darling, and I wonder where she can be. And so you just make the banjo talk that, and you just get the notes. Like you try and get the licks that make that sound, that say those things. And same thing up high, right? You're getting, basically that same thing. You can turn it around. Instead of doing that, you do or something like this. Or instead of walking down, you can walk up. All kinds of little fun things. You make that banjo talk. Is what you gotta do. That when they say make it talk, it's literally what you're doing. You're finding that melody, and you're just making it do those things. You could do something like this. You're just, make it talk. Let's see. Martin Kenny says, I have an old IDE plectrum banjo. Did you ever come across that maker? I have heard of IDE. I don't know anything about him though, so yeah, I don't know anything about them, so I can't say anything about their quality, but I've heard of them before. Is it bad if you can't reach? I can't read sheet music. I know that. What is it? Every good boy deserves fries. If you're reading on the lines of a treble clef, I think. I just know that from recently looking that stuff up. I don't know how to read music. I can tell you like a quarter note, and I can tell like whole notes from quarter notes because that's like the measure of how long a note sustains for a beat. So a whole note sustains for 4 beats, whereas a quarter note is for 1 beat. An eighth note is half of a beat, and that's your up and down beat. So tit 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 tit, assuming 4 beats per measure. And so that's like, now of course, like you start getting into other stuff like 3/4 timing. So that only works for like 2/4 and 4/4 timing. You start getting into 3/4 timing and like, I don't know, 6/8 timing and stuff like that, which is not bluegrass. You start getting into other timings like that. There's all kinds of weird ones like 7/16 and stuff. And then the things start kind of falling apart, and I have no idea what we're in, like uncharted territory there. So, but yeah, for like 2/4 timing, 4/4 timing, pretty easy, that part is. But yeah, I don't know the rest of it. Yep, face for the spaces, and every good boy deserves fries for the lines. And that's sort of like, I don't know. But yeah, there's I don't know. I have a lot of people ask like, I have a lot of people ask how I learn songs. I learn songs pretty quickly. And there's sort of like that. There's that sort of dividend that gets paid. The more you practice, the faster you learn. The more you learn, the faster you learn. And so it's sort of this exponential growth curve as you learn music. Because you're going to start like you start. It takes you a month. It takes you half a year to a year to learn to recognize by ear the position of a note within a scale. And then it takes you another year to learn like what to do with that. And then once you learn what to do with that, it takes you another year to learn like, okay, how can I change that and do something unique with it? But there's like all this time you're getting just better. You're just getting a more detail. Like you're going from a 1,000-foot view to a 100-foot view to a 10-foot view of your music. But yeah. How about some Pike County breakdown? We can do some Pike County breakdown for you. That's a good one. I'm going to scoot up this way here. Some of you guys, I know you like to kind of see what I'm doing here whenever I play. So, little Pike County breakdown. There we go. I messed up on improv a little bit. Yeah, it's a little too much for me. Let's see how do I do that? Yeah, let's do something like that. You guys are getting the mistakes and everything here. Let's see. Foggy Mountain Special. I can do a little Foggy Mountain Special. Buddy Holly asks, what is your advice to get fast at picking? Buddy, you just gotta play. Always push yourself. If you're always playing like this, and that's in particular a really bad vice, a really bad crutch people rely on, is that alternating roll. The reason is that alternating roll is 4 licks. There's 4 notes on 8th note, so 2 of those divide evenly into a measure. So you can do this over and over, and the open 3rd string will always land on a beat. So it's sort of sing-song, whereas a 3-lick roll doesn't divide evenly into a measure. So every time it's going to land on a different beat, if it lands on a beat at all. And so the song wanders, that roll wanders in relation to a beat. But as far as getting fast, man, you just play the crap out of the thing and always force yourself to go a little faster. Push yourself to the point that you mess up and then slow down. Push yourself to your breaking point and slow down. And that's getting into that zone of proximal development, as I was told. That's a fancy word for it. But just always like be pushing yourself to go a little bit faster. Now, playing fast is not always like good though, right? If you're like, if I was going to do something like, heck, I don't know, ground speed. This is about a good speed from ground speed. If I was just going to like really blaze it, I mean, I'm just like. And it's like you lose the whole song. You lose the melody. So like do it within reason. Foggy Mountain Special. Someone requested Foggy Mountain Special. Let's see. Banjo Holly says, I've had banjo for 3 years, but it hasn't gotten any faster. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta like, I don't know how this. There's no like magic tip for that, or a lot of this stuff. I have people like what's like your secret? Like you just practice like crazy, and you just push yourself. Like you really, if you're not getting a little bit frustrated when you practice, which like once you get frustrated, like really once you get frustrated, it's time to put it down because like learning has stopped at that point. But you need to push yourself a little bit. Like you're going to get a little annoyed with yourself every now and then, and you really got to push yourself until you mess up, and then slow it down. You know, like I said earlier, I started out like with this little lick from Big Sandy River, like this. Now, and I was literally that slow, if not slower. And I was like, okay, don't need to put my finger here or here. And then it's like once I kind of figured that out, I started trying to push myself. It's like, and then once I got a little bit comfortable with that, I started pushing a little faster, and then a little faster, and then faster and faster. You eventually get, and it just sort of becomes muscle memory. Cripple Creek. See, I can't seem to get comfortable holding and playing the banjo. My neck starts to hurt and my right hand cramps. And that's another one of the. Gosh, I hate to be that person. I really hate to be that person. I have to do that with a lot of my students, and I hate to be that person, but it's like a lot of it's just like if it's uncomfortable, it's because you just need to do it a little more. You need to. I mean, if you're holding the banjo, I'll say this, right? The banjo should sit in your lap like this. Hand should be about like this. Finger should be pretty close to equal length from the bridge. Maybe like the thumb a little further forward. But overall, pretty close to the same distance. So, it should rest pretty naturally like that. It should come in at an angle like that. Your left hand as you play should not sit in the neck should not sit in the crotch of your hand like this. It should not sit like that. If you're doing that, you're holding it wrong. And you're probably having issues with strings getting deadened and things like that as you catch licks. You're probably having trouble accidentally muting strings. That thumb needs to be back here, just touching, say, the inlays right there, just touching the binding of the neck. And that's for down the neck. So you'll see me whenever I'm doing my vamping, my thumb is just barely up, poking above that. You can see where it sits at, and you can see that the banjo is not sitting in the crotch of my neck. It's not sitting in the crotch of my hand at all. And so that gives you, what that does is it brings your finger more perpendicular to the string. So you can see how my fingers sort of are laying flat across if I have it sitting in the crotch of my hand. Whereas if I bring that thumb around, those fingers become more upright. And that gives you cleaner intonation. And that's like, you don't want to have your thumb like back here on the back like this. Not unless you're up here on the neck. Then you will have it back here. because you might need a little more pressure. You might be doing chokes and bends. What you're doing is you're not holding on to the banjo neck. You don't hold on to the banjo neck. You pinch the banjo neck between your thumb and your fingers. You're not applying pressure to it. And that's what's going to give you speed. That's going to free you up. Once you lose tension, once you get out of tension and you start to loosen up, that's when the speed comes. Which sounds odd, right? You try less. You relax in order to play fast, because then you can sling your fingers around. Whenever, like on bugle call rag, there's this fillic, or there's this part that takes the place of the harmonics. They go like this. There's this lick, it goes like this. And the reason I'm able to land those inversions, the root first inversion, I slide all the way up from that first root to an octave root up there, because my fingers are hanging loose, and I just sort of sling them into whatever position they need to be in. And I'm doing the same thing here. I am slinging my arm down there because I'm relaxed, and that's what you have to do in order to get that and hit that note dead on. It's just and in order to get relaxed, you have to play and practice so much that you are comfortable with it. I mean, you have to be totally comfortable and confident with it in order to do that. Do that easily and reliably. So yeah, just like work on releasing tension, man. Just like relax. That's all I would say. Do I play any melodic stuff? I've been thinking about learning a little more melodic stuff. I can do some stuff. I like at a basic level. I can do like Turkey in the Straw. That sort of stuff, like Devil's Dream. That sort of stuff. I just started, I went all these years. Blackberry Blossom is like a beginner melodic song. I never learned Blackberry Blossom, so I kind of learned that, where it goes. How's it go? Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Actually, it's going to a B, so it should be this. Yeah, maybe it's that. Oh, it's that. We're going to a B7. Yeah. Let's see. Melodic stuff. Yeah, anyway. Easy to get hung up in an out roll. Is it easy to get hung up on the in and out roll? Seems like in and out roll. I don't know what like an in and out roll is. I've never heard of a roll refer to that. I've seen people get hung up on alternating rolls. That's like a really common thing. The whole like thumb, index, thumb, middle. I mean, heck, like that little bit of knowledge is honestly pretty handy. If you're in a song that you're really feeling lazy, if you're exhausted, you're playing a show or a jam, and you just sort of, maybe you're not feeling the song, you just sort of want to fall into the background, but you still want to support the music a little bit. You just sort of fall into the background, do an alternating roll. And you just sort of fall into that, and like that's like a really like easy way to do that. Like if I was gonna, I don't know, here's a song that really should not be used on. Like I know your rider's gonna miss me when I'm gone. That's a song that goes like, well, I know your rider's gonna miss me when I'm gone. Well, I know your rider's gonna miss me when I'm gone. Gonna miss your baby from rolling in your arms. If I was playing a jam or something, I just wasn't feeling it. I'd just be like, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't use that on that one. Yeah, but I mean, like you can kind of on a slower song, you can do the alternating roll, and it sort of keeps the monotony down a little bit. But yeah, I guess for a song like that, I'd probably continue to just do forward and backward rolls. That's like super, like stupid simple backup right there. Eric Bodds asked, that an Elite 85. Got one myself, and that thing is solid. I need to start picking more and getting serious and consistent to get to your level. Man, this is not an Elite 85. It's the 75. I thought about getting the 85. I've got a Scruggs standard model, and it's a maple banjo. And like the Elite 85 is basically the Scruggs model. It's a Scruggs model banjo. The Elite 85 is because you've got a maple resonator, maple neck, nickel hardware. And it's basically, like I said, it's a Scruggs. The 85 is a Scruggs model banjo. It's a Granada with nickel plating. And so that's exactly what the Scruggs banjo is. Those of you guys that don't know the story behind Scruggs' banjo, the one that he played for the majority of his musical career, he played a Granada, and the Granada he played the gold plating off of it, and so he just sent it off and had nickel plated, and that became the new Scruggs banjo, was his nickel plated Granada. And so that's where that comes from. So when you get like a Scruggs special, like the gold plated ones, it's basically just a Granada with some extra little inlay and stuff on it. Let's see. Gus asks, do I play guitar? I play enough guitar to get me in trouble. I don't let people know that I can play guitar because then they ask me to start filling with them, like filling in on shows. I'm a fill-in musician a lot. So if someone's missing a banjo player or their banjo player can't fill in, I'll fill in a show with them. I don't let people know that I play guitar because then I don't like playing guitar for a whole show. I can't do it for 2 and 3. Martin Kenny asks, my banjo cannot do that. Your banjo can do it. Your banjo can do it. I'll have to. I wish I had my little Hondo here, my first banjo, a little $200 banjo. That little thing, it can sing. It can sing if you, if you get on it. Now you got to work a little harder at it, but it'll still sing. That's not an endorsement of a Hondo banjo. It's a cheap banjo. It sounded like crap. The rim was like the banjo was actually cast aluminum. The actual body of the banjo was just cast aluminum. There wasn't a lick of wood in the darn thing in the rim. So, yeah, it was a cheapo. It wasn't any good. Clinch Mountain backstep, Pablo Hunt asks. So, yeah, I guess that's a request. We'll do a little Clinch Mountain backstep. We'll have some fun with it. We'll throw in some random stuff here. I tried making something up there and I didn't quite, kind of lost my place for the B part. Or something like this. There we go. Man, my camera's freaking out. Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Can't do Flint Hill Special right now. Don't have tuners on this banjo. Need to get tuners put on it. Foggy Mountain Breakdown, though. Yeah, that I would not use most of that if I was actually performing that like live or anything. That's just I just having a little fun with it. to stick to what I know. See, Martin Gravel. This is let's see. Martin Gravel asks how much money for, let's say, an honest banjo. Well, if you're wanting an honest banjo, I mean, it depends on the brand, right? If you're going for like Deering tends to be a little bit on the pricier side for what you're getting. If you like the Deering name, I'm sure they're like the quality control is much better on those, like the Good Times and stuff. But if you're wanting like a real banjo, I would say you're looking at spending like no less than $800 or $900 for like a real banjo. It's going to sound good. I'm really impressed with the Recording King, and I reckon the Recording King RK35 is basically this banjo just with without all the nice inlays and the fancy neck, and it's got a little bit shorter scale length, which honestly I would prefer a shorter scale length. But yeah, it doesn't have like the nice veneer on the back and all the inlays and binding work. But yeah, you're looking at like $800 to $1,000 to get like a real banjo. If you're wanting something to like go gigging with and touring with and like playing with, which I mean, I don't know where you're at in your music playing journey, you might want to spend a little more than that, and get something that not only is a good banjo, but also just tickles your fancy a little bit. Because if you're going to, like I've been doing this for 17 years, I'm not going to buy a banjo unless not only does it sound good, but it also kind of tickles my fancy a little bit. Kind of, I think as Wrangler Star says, I remember getting on Skype call. I've been on Skype calls with him, like as part of like the prepper community, him and Southern Prepper and all these other guys. If you're like into prepping and stuff and you follow these channels, like I used to hang out, like on Skype calls. And Wrangler, I remember him back when he was Wrangler Barn and YouTube shut his channel down. But yeah, or I don't remember if they shut his channel down or not, but I remember he was getting all kinds of strikes and stuff, and they were like, YouTube was really starting to crack down on a lot of that stuff, and he rebranded from Wrangler Barn to Wrangler Star. And yeah, those were the days. Home Sweet Home's a good one. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, the standard tuning for a plectrum banjo is C, G, B, D. So Home Sweet Home is played out of a plectrum tuning, but we are also including a fifth string. So a plectrum banjo is usually 4 strings, but if you omit the fifth string and you just drop that D string down to a C, that's plectrum tuning. And move this over here a little bit, make sure I'm not covering up my microphone on my pooter. Yeah, the Twanger brand of banjo is modeled after the OB. It's titled the OB3. It's a small number. It's modeled after the RB3. And so the RB3 is actually what Earl Scruggs, well, the RB3 is what Earl Scruggs played before he got his Granada. And the RB3 is what J.D. Crowe played for his entire picking career. And so if you're looking for like a Crowe, an early Scruggs sound, that's like going to be the OB3 twanger. This banjo here is modeled after the RB75. It's the RK75, which the RK75 is basically an RB3, but just it was at a different price point. Like it's the same, you're looking at mahogany, maple pot, or maple rim with mahogany resonator, mahogany neck. And besides that, like everything else is dimensionally the same as the RB75, which was a rebrand of the RB3. So most of your banjos, if they're a mahogany banjo and they've got this kind of cutout on the top, the double cut, it's probably intended to be either the RB75 or the RB3. And those are both pretty solid banjos. The Gold Star makes one. It's the something 100 GF or JD, or maybe it's like the GH or GF 100, and they have the JD, which I believe has a wider neck on it, and it's a Gold Star, and it's like the twanger. It's similar to the twanger, which is a gold tone, but they're both mahogany banjos with maple rims and probably a wider neck and a wider bridge if they're modeled after JD's banjo. I don't care much I don't like a wider spacing. I like a narrow spacing. The spacing on this one's a little bit wide for me. The neck is fine, but I like a wider bridge spacing. This isn't a dig at anyone who uses wider spacing. If you learned on it and that's what you're comfortable with, it's fine. I like a wider spacing I like a narrower spacing because you can get a little more speed. There's less hand movement. I like a shorter scale length as well. Because if you're really practice, like I practice a ton, and I don't need the extra space I've got enough precision myself that I don't need the extra space between strings to get my strings cleanly. And I don't need the extra space in frets to keep from muting them or missing the frets. And so for me, like I'm fine stacking my fingers on top of each other. This is more than ample room for me. I've got little piano fingers. Anyway, I've got small hands, so I don't need a wide neck. A wide neck actually gets in the way, keeps me from vamping. Like I have a little bit of trouble when it comes to getting a sixth note. A seventh I can get fine, but a sixth is a bit of a stretch. You hear it muted a little bit because the neck's a little bit just a fuzz wide for my hands. I've got shorter hands, so. Let's see. Crow spacing. Yeah, big fingers definitely big. Yeah, if you got big fingers, yeah, like I said, it's not a dig. I got piano fingers. Like I'm double jointed and I got little slender fingers, and I'm fine with. For me, it's just I get more speed out of it. I get more speed out of having a closer spacing. So this is the head in question that you're talking about, Buddy Holly. And so this is a legitimate Earl Scruggs signature. I actually just took this head off of my Gibson banjo. And this did not come on the banjo. I got this after the fact, but this is a legitimate Earl Scruggs signature banjo. The 90s Earl Scruggs banjos came with the head signed. My banjo has Earl Scruggs signature on the pot in blue felt pen. So that's sort of like the standard thing for that model. But I also had this Earl Scruggs signed head that I put on it. And this is a legitimate Earl Scruggs signature. So, yeah, you can see it's got a little bit of wear on it where I've played so much from vamping up here. The top of the two G's and the S is worn off a little bit. But besides that, it's that's it. I'm not the type of person that buys a Ford F-150 and buys one of those limited stickers and puts it on the back. You know what I'm talking about. You see that all the time. I used to sell cars and have people come in. Yeah, I got an F-150 limited, and they stuck limited stickers down the side of the bed. And we'd run the VIN. We'd say, "Oh, it's an XLT." Oh yeah, you ain't fooling us. That's a legitimate Scruggs head there. Fireball Mel, Davey asks. Buddy Holly asks, how did those holes get in there? So I assume you mean this right here. This is where the frosting is worn off. So there's no hole. The head, if you look, you can see the reflection. This head is mylar. So this is plastic, and they've shaped it. It's a drum head. And the tension hoop pulls this down over the tone ring. And so what happens is they frost this. The frosting makes the head less shiny, so it doesn't like make cameras freak out and stuff. But also it changes the tone of the banjo a little bit. So an unfrosted clear head is super bright. This takes some of that top end off of it by adding a little bit of weight to the head. And it gives it that coarse texture, gives it a bit of a sandpapery texture. But eventually that wears off, and you can see where I've kept my finger planted on the head, or I've worn that completely off. And that's what happens. This banjo will look like that in a couple years. So in about a year, or maybe by halfway through next year, there will be a little round hole right there, and it'll slowly start extending out, and you'll eventually see it go all the way to the end of the head. And, you know, that's how it happens. Davey says, exceptional picking gun. Well, thank you, Davey. I appreciate it. How long does it usually take to get wear marks on the banjo head? I've only had my Deering banjo a few months, and the frost has worn through where my pinky ring fingers sit, and also where I practice. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically, like, that's pretty normal. You'll get that after about 6 months. You'll start wearing through 6 months to a year, and, you know, that's perfectly normal. Yeah, and that sounds about right. For about an hour of practice a day, you're gonna get that. You know, it all depends on how much you play in practice. If you don't practice a whole lot, then you won't get a lot of wear on the frosting of your head. But yeah, I did not mean to click on that, whatever that is. All right. Whoa, mule, whoa. I can play the strumming version. Okay. So that's one that, how's that go? It goes, whoa, mule, I say, ain't got time to kiss you. Yeah, my mule's run away or something like that. Whoa, mule, say, ain't got time to kiss you now. And then I come up here behind the bridge. Yep. That's my rendition of it. Sarah Jane. I don't remember how that goes. I'm going to look it up, though. Sarah Jane. I'm going to mute the audio real quick on this so I can play this and not get copyright strike. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So it goes, oh, right by myself. It goes, that's not a song. That's not a song that I play. So I don't exactly know how like to play it. I mean, that's like on the melody, right? So let's see. We're going to a C. Yeah, a little bit like it. I saw the line. Something like this. Let's see. Have you ever heard Chubby Wise's, or have you ever heard Chubby's hornpipe? I got a Chubby hornpipe for you. I'm just kidding. Yes. Let's see. By Chubby Wise, there's a banjo part at 1:15. That's my favorite. No, I have not. But give me just a second here. Now, hornpipe. When I hear hornpipe, that tells me that this is going to be maybe a little complicated, because that usually there's a lot of not melodics, but a lot of arpeggios in there. So I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to have to mute my audio real quick, so I'll be right back, and I'm going to see what I can come up with. I mean, they're doing something like this. It's a pretty it's a crude banjo break. They're doing something like this. They're in the key of A, but I'll do it in the key of G, like. they're going to a C. Something like that. If I'm going to do melodic, I was going to melodify it, it'd be something like this. Something like that. I don't know. That's a those hornpipes are a little bit of a different rhythm and a little bit different way they play the melodies there. So Tennessee Hound Dog. Let's see. I don't know that one. I've heard of it. And I've probably heard it. I don't know it off the top of my head. Let's see. Buddy Holly asked, do you like any music other than bluegrass? Like, if you can't tell, like, I don't actually listen to a whole lot of bluegrass. I listen to like a lot of jazz, so so like the whole jazz thing. Love me some jazz. Let's see. Brian Clapp asks, any advice regarding improvisation, especially when playing fast? Like I've said before, right? Banjo, playing music is like, it's language. It's a language, and you're speaking it. You learn that, like this lick means this on the melody line. This lick means this on the melody line. This means this on the melody line. This means this on the melody line. So, like, if I'm doing like, tonight I'm sad, my heart is worried, wondering if I'm wrong or right. Like, I wonder where you are tonight. He goes, tonight I'm sad, my heart is worried. So we're going. Right, and so we just play a melody over that. And, there's other ways you can do it. Whereas like the Bill Keith version, he's just like. Yeah, it's like you're making the banjo sing on the melody, talk on the melody. It's language. So if you're wondering like, well, how do I get that language? You just need to learn a bunch of songs, like learn a ton of songs, and eventually it'll click. It's like, and listen to them and listen to the lyrics and like pick out the melody, and you'll figure out like, okay, this is like, tonight I'm sad, my heart is worried. And you just hit that melody like it stole from you. If you're trying to play like just straight bluegrass, simple style, and that's like a great way to kick a song off. Definitely. I have people like at jams, and you'll see if you ever like see me perform live, they'll ask me because I'll fill in. I'm usually a fill-in banjo player. I don't play with a regular band that much, and they'll say, "Do you know this?" I'll be like, "No, but how does it go?" And they'll hum the melody out to me, and then from there, they're like da 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 da, and then you just like, you just play on that melody line and you kick it off, enough to where you can pass it off until you're done, until you're done with the song, and that's like, yeah. So, Buddy Holly asks, Rocky Top, that's a good one. Been forever since I've done that. Let's give it a try here. See what I can come up with. I'm gonna scoot with it. scoop my cooter over a little bit. You guys get a little better view of the banjo. What I'm doing here. You know, I'm playing the chords there. I shouldn't do that. I should play like how Sonny Osborne did it. He did this. And that's the lead break for that. If I was going to play it on the chords, oh gosh, I've never really thought about how I'd play it. It's always one of those songs people request it, and we're like, yeah, we'll get to it in a minute. We never get to it. I do something like this. So that's not lead, of course. That's like backup. If I was going to do the lead. Then we go to an F right there. It's like. You go to a C. So it's something like that. I don't know. Something like that. Not really anything like that at all. But anyway, yeah, you guys kind of. That's a lot of my playing whenever I'm practicing is just like playing around with random stuff, you know. I'm just messing around at this point. Let's see. Yeah, Bud Massey. I mean, that's basically there's a language. It's like if I ask you to say, yeah, I think I've played banjo for 17 years, and I've played many hours during that time. I mean, I put a lot of hours into it, and so it sort of has become like an extension of, you know, my mouth, right, or of my body, and so if I ask you to say the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, that's a bit of a tongue twister. But I bet you could probably say it the second time around at the least. And that's because, you know, you spoke so much that it's second nature. And it's the same thing we do with the banjo. The banjo is like a language, and that there are certain licks that mean certain things, that mean a certain note. And so long as we can understand the melody, which is basically what we're trying to say on the banjo, then we can recreate that. And so, you know, you'll say it with a different inflection and everything, but you'll still get the same message across. And that's what's going on with the banjo. So like 9-Pound Hammer, I did that one. I did a lesson on that one, and I did it straight on the melody. And you can hear it goes, well, the 9-pound hammer is just a little too heavy, buddy, for my size, buddy, for my size. Even down to where it goes, buddy, for my size. You hear it goes, buddy, we're coming up in pitch, for my, then we come down in pitch, my size, and it's, you hear that in the banjo lead. It goes, buddy, for my size, and that's how I wrote that out. But, you know, you could easily deviate from that or use different licks and get a different sound to it. You can do something like that, you know, instead instead of doing that or other little things, right? So you're like. And so there's all these different licks that we can use that mean that same thing. You know, there's like a straight open roll. Hammers, 9-pound hammers, or this. And up on the neck, there's like this. Hammers, just a little too heavy. So like. You know, you can do other licks with that and get the same lick. So you can do like, or the same sound, but like, once again, it's like with a different inflection. So you can do something like this. And yeah, there's like all these different ways you can do it. There's all these licks that mean the same thing, or at the very least, are in this case, I can use this lick or something like that, something to the essence of that. That is an indescript lick. That is just an arpeggiated lick. That is, it's not even arpeggiated, but it's a lick that just is a fill. It's a fill lick. And you can use it. And if I was going to do like Down the Road, now down the road just a mile or two, this little girl named Pearly Blue, about so high and hair is brown, prettiest thing boys in this town, doing back up, be like. So I'm just. Or you can do other stuff in there, right? Instead of doing that. There's all kinds of, or you do something like this. And it's all language. It's language. You just learn how to talk in it. Let's see. LGB Gold Star JD asks, do you like the Recording Kings more than the Earl Scruggs? You know, I would say right now, definitely the Recording King is like stomping. It's running circles around the Earl Scruggs model banjo. It really is. It's got good setup. I took the resonator off of it and checked all the parts in it and the fitment of the neck. It has a better heel cut than my Gibson, like 10 times better than my Gibson. My Gibson has a really bad quality heel cut, and the Gibsons from the era that I have were known for having bad heel cuts. This one has a much better heel cut. It's got better finish. The hardware looks nicer. It's not more nicely machined. The hardware that is machined, better polished, and better cast. The flange seems like it's a little bit better. The wood rim is a 3-ply wood rim, the same as the Master Tone Gibsons, and it's made in the same manner. Looking at them, like it's all like it. They've used the same techniques for bending the wood and binding them together. The way they did the cuts and blended the pieces in, so you have 3 plies that are going around in a circle, and they all line up with no breaks. And so it's really well done. It is super well done, and I'm very happy with it. And it does sound better than my Gibson. So that's, you know, I mean, what else can you say besides that? What was the first song I learned to play? Cripple Creek. That was asked by Grumple Slam Alabaster. Okay. Yeah, that's my first song, Cripple Creek. Yeah, my Earl Scruggs banjo, it sounds really plunky, and it's not got a lot. There's something wrong with it, and I can't figure out what it is. I worked on the neck and like reset the neck and got everything with it good, and that helped a lot. But there's something else I need to check. It's either the bridge. I might need a new bridge on it because it might be muting the strings. I suspect that may be a problem, and I need to check the. I need to check the. What the heck do you call it? The truss rod in the neck and make sure that it's not loose. If you have a truss rod in neutral tension, it can actually sort of vibrate and take out a lot of the vibration. It absorbs a lot of the sound of the instrument. And so I need to check the truss rod and make sure that it's tight. But yeah, it doesn't have it's not a real good sounding banjo at this point. It needs some work done. I have worked on the neck. The neck makes good contact with the pot now. The action height's right on it. I put a new head on it. Really don't know what it could be at this point, besides just a bad bridge, which I know it seems like a simple solution, but I would not think the strings are that bad because usually unwound strings don't go bad like that. And I've also got a single new string on it where I had one break the other day while recording, and I just threw a new string on just really quickly, and it's still sounding kind of dead. So there's something going on with the banjo, and I can't quite figure out what it is. Yeah, and also the other Scruggs models you hear are probably Rich era Scruggs models. Those are the more common ones. What I'm playing is what's called the Honey Banjo, and this is it is from the Norlin era when Gibson was known for having some issues with their quality control, and so it's got a thicker rim. The pot is thicker than the Rich era banjos, I believe. Not the pot, but the rim is thicker. The rim is thicker than the Norlin era banjos, and that gives it a different tone. The resonator is fairly shallow. All kinds of things. They made a fairly compact banjo, but it's got its own sound to it. It needs some serious work. It's not a lot of fun to play. Bear Tracks. How's that go? It goes bear tracks, da 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 da. No, that's old Slewfoot. I was thinking Slewfoot. There's Bear Tracks, but I was thinking the melody is Slewfoot. Does it go with C? It's like do 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 do. Yeah, I can't. I don't know the melody to that, so I can't really play that or improv it. But Mountain Dew from who is that? P870. Mountain Dew. How's that go? Down the road here from me, there's no hollow tree where you lay down $1 or two. All right, there we go. Yeah. Well, my Uncle Nord, he was sawn off in. Well, my Uncle Nord, he was sawn off and short. He measured about 4'2". That does not work there. But he feels like a giant when you give him a pint of that good old Mountain Dew. Yeah, I'll do that. So I'm planning on maybe doing Sally Good tonight. I haven't even practiced it any. Do that a little bit because I'm supposed to practice a little bit. All right, I'm in tune now. That's why I need practice. Got a request for Nashville Blues. I actually played that on the stream the other day. It's it'd been a while since I played that one, but let's see. It started coming back to me as I was playing it. It really is like riding a bicycle once you learn an instrument. I mean, I went a long time where I hardly touched a banjo at all. But you know, it sort of give it a day or so, and it comes right back to you. But you know, like I said, it's like riding a bicycle. But you have to get it to muscle memory first. If you don't get it to that point, then you will lose it all. Well, Nashville Blues. Let's give that a try. Of course. You get into D major tuning. You get into getting some other fun stuff. Like little John Henry. That's the first time playing that song on this banjo. Out of tune still. And of course, there's also a little bit of Reuben. I am in tune, Yeah, there's a little. Of course, we can do a G tuning in diminished eighth, G major diminished eighth for that. It'd be like basically just a major seventh, I guess, is what. Yeah, it wouldn't be. You had to be a diminished eighth or a major seventh. Either one would work. Yeah, if we did a G major seventh, we could do something like eager and anxious. Go something like this. Oh, I'm out of tune. Crying holy unto the Lord. I could do that one. It goes, crying holy unto the Lord, crying holy unto the Lord. Lord, if I could, I surely would stand on that rock where Moses stood. Used to play that when I first started. We played that in church, and that's a. I played that one on my last stream. Took a little bit of thinking about it, but it's a good song. It was See if let's do a hybrid for it. All right, let me try that again. Ooh, how do I do that? Yeah, we'll do something like that. I'll slide on that. So. Yeah, guys, stream's been going on for about 2 hours. I promised I'd have this stream a little bit shorter than the last one, so I think I'm gonna taper it off here. One more comment here. Timothy Dorset says, "Only been playing banjo for a year, and that is insane playing." Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it took me a while to get to that point, but that's. It just takes a lot of practice. But yeah, guys, I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to hop off here and, maybe get to recording a video. I'm going to see about recording another lesson for you guys. So I'll catch you guys later. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you later.